Right now, roughly 1 in every 4 people on Earth is Muslim. That's over 2 billion people across every continent, making Islam the second largest religion in the world, and according to demographic projections, the fastest growing. It did not begin with an empire or an army or a king. It began with a single man alone in a cave outside a small trading town in the Arabian desert in the year 610. 14 centuries later, that moment in a cave outside Mecca has reshaped the borders, languages, architecture, and daily lives of a quarter of humanity. This is the story of how that happened. From 1 man to 2 billion people in 1400 years. To understand how dramatically things changed, you first need to understand what Arabia looked like before. In the early 7th century, the Arabian Peninsula was not a unified nation. It was a patchwork of tribes, oases, and trading towns, largely outside the control of the 2 great empires that dominated the region, the Byzantine Empire to the northwest, and the Sasanian Persian Empire to the northeast. Mecca, in the western region known as the Hijaz, was one of the peninsula's most important towns, not because of farmland or water, but because of trade and pilgrimage. It sat along a major caravan route, and at its center stood the Kaaba, an ancient tube-shaped shrine already considered sacred for centuries, housing statues representing the many gods worshipped by Arabia's largely polytheistic tribes. It was into this world, tribal, decentralized, religiously diverse, and increasingly prosperous from trade, that a merchant named Muhammad ibn Abdullah was born around the year 570. According to Islamic tradition, in the year 610, at around the age of 40, Muhammad was meditating alone in a cave on Mount Hira, near Mecca, when he received the first of what Muslims believe were direct revelations from God, delivered through the angel Gabriel. These revelations continued over the next 23 years, and were eventually compiled into the Quran, the central religious text of Islam. Muhammad's early message was, in many ways, radically disruptive to Meccan society. Strict monotheism in a polytheistic trading city built partly around pilgrimage to its many gods, moral accountability, and social obligations toward the poor and vulnerable that directly challenged the existing tribal and economic order. Unsurprisingly, his early followers were few, and persecution from Mecca's ruling tribes intensified for over a decade, pushing the small, fragile community of believers toward a breaking point. That breaking point came in the year 622, when Muhammad and his followers left Mecca entirely, migrating roughly 250 miles north to the town of Yathrib, soon renamed Medina, the city of the Prophet. This migration, known as the Hijra, is considered so pivotal that it marks year 1 of the Islamic calendar. Not Muhammad's birth, not the first revelation, but this moment of migration and community building. In Medina, Muhammad became something genuinely new, not just a religious teacher, but the political and military leader of an actual functioning community governed under an agreement known as the Constitution of Medina, uniting Muslim, Jewish, and pagan tribes under a shared framework of mutual defense and legal order. Over the following years, conflict between Medina and Mecca escalated into open warfare, a series of battles that gradually shifted the balance of power away from Mecca's ruling elite and toward the growing Muslim community. In 630, after years of conflict, Muhammad returned to Mecca, this time not as an exile, but at the head of an army large enough that the city surrendered largely without a fight. He ordered the idols surrounding the Kaaba destroyed, rededicating the shrine to the exclusive worship of one God, and extended a broad amnesty to many of his former persecutors. Over the next 2 years, tribe after tribe across the Arabian Peninsula converted or aligned themselves with the new Muslim state. And by the time Muhammad died in 632, at around the age of 62, nearly the entire Arabian Peninsula had been unified, for the first time in its history, under a single religious and political authority. It was an extraordinary transformation. Muhammad's death immediately raised an urgent, unresolved question: who would lead the Muslim community now? The community's answer, a close companion named Abu Bakr, selected as the first caliph or successor, was not accepted by everyone, and the disagreement over rightful succession would eventually harden into Islam's most significant lasting division, between the majority Sunni tradition and the Shia tradition, which held that leadership should have passed specifically through Muhammad's family line. What followed under Abu Bakr and the three caliphs after him, known collectively as the Rashidun, or rightly guided caliphs, was one of the fastest and most consequential military expansions in recorded history. Within roughly 2 decades, Arab Muslim armies had shattered the Sasanian Persian Empire entirely and stripped the Byzantine Empire of Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. By the year 656, the caliphate stretched from North Africa to the borders of India, an almost unimaginable transformation for a state that, 25 years earlier, had consisted of a single town in the Arabian desert. In 661, following a civil war rooted in that same unresolved succession dispute, including the killing of Muhammad's grandson Hussein at Karbala in 680, an event that remains central to Shia religious memory to this day, leadership passed to the Umayyad dynasty, who moved the capital from Arabia to the ancient city of Damascus. Under the Umayyads, expansion continued at a staggering pace. Muslim armies pushed west across North Africa and crossed into Spain in 711, establishing Al-Andalus, while simultaneously pushing east through Central Asia and into the Indus Valley in present-day Pakistan. At its height, the Umayyad Caliphate stretched over roughly 4,000 miles from the Atlantic coast of Spain to the borders of China, making it by landmass one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, achieved in less than a century from Islam's founding. In 750, the Umayyads were overthrown by the Abbasid dynasty, who relocated the caliphate's capital to a newly built city, Baghdad. What followed is often described as Islam's Golden Age. Baghdad's House of Wisdom became one of history's great centers of learning, where scholars translated and preserved Greek, Persian, and Indian scientific and philosophical texts, many of which would otherwise have been lost entirely to history. Muslim scholars of this era made foundational contributions across mathematics, developing algebra as a formal discipline, astronomy, refining tools like the astrolabe, and medicine, producing medical encyclopedias that remained standard textbooks in European universities for centuries afterward. For roughly 2 centuries, the Abbasid Caliphate stood as one of the wealthiest, most intellectually vibrant civilizations on Earth, even as its direct political control over its vast territories gradually began to fragment. By the 10th and 11th centuries, the unified caliphate that once stretched across 3 continents had splintered into competing regional powers. The Shia Fatimid Caliphate ruling from Cairo, independent Muslim emirates across Spain, the Seljuk Turks rising to dominance across Persia and Anatolia, and numerous smaller local dynasties, all nominally acknowledging the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad while ruling largely independently in practice. This was also the era of the Crusades, beginning in 1095, as European Christian forces launched a series of military campaigns to seize Jerusalem and the surrounding Levant, campaigns that succeeded temporarily, before Muslim forces, most famously under the Kurdish general Saladin, gradually reclaimed the region over the following century. The Islamic world of this period was not one empire, but a diverse, often rival collection of Muslim states, unified by shared faith and scholarly tradition, even while divided by politics. Then, in 1258, catastrophe arrived from the east. Mongol forces under Hulagu Khan besieged and sacked Baghdad, executing the last Abbasid Caliph, and destroying the House of Wisdom, along with countless irreplaceable manuscripts, an event many historians consider one of the most devastating single blows to Islamic intellectual civilization in its entire history. The Abbasid Caliphate, already politically hollowed out, effectively ceased to exist as a meaningful power. For a moment, it seemed as though the wave that had carried Islam from a single Arabian town to a civilization spanning 3 continents had finally broken. It hadn't. Within a few generations, new Muslim powers would rise from the wreckage, bigger in some cases, than anything that had come before. By the 16th century, three enormous Muslim empires dominated vast stretches of Asia, Europe, and North Africa simultaneously. Historians often call them the gunpowder empires for their shared mastery of early firearms and artillery. The Ottoman Empire, built by Turkish rulers from a small Anatolian principality, conquered Constantinople in 1453, ending the Byzantine Empire entirely, and eventually expanded deep into southeastern Europe, reaching the gates of Vienna itself in 1529, and again in 1683. The Safavid Empire established Shia Islam as Persia's dominant faith, a religious identity that continues to define Iran to this day. And the Mughal Empire, founded by descendants of Timur and Genghis Khan, unified most of the Indian subcontinent under Muslim rule, leaving behind architectural monuments still recognized worldwide, including the Taj Mahal. Together, these three empires represented Islam at perhaps its greatest simultaneous territorial and cultural power, stretching, combined, from Algeria to Bangladesh. That power did not last. Beginning in the 18th century and accelerating through the 19th, European colonial powers, Britain, France, Russia, and others, steadily encroached on Muslim-majority territory across Africa and Asia, exploiting internal weaknesses, technological gaps, and political fragmentation. The Mughal Empire in India effectively dissolved under British colonial control. French and later Ottoman power in North Africa gave way to European colonial administration. And after centuries as one of history's great powers, the Ottoman Empire itself, weakened by military defeat and internal decline, formally collapsed following the First World War, its final remnants abolished in 1924, ending, symbolically, 13 centuries of continuous caliphate rule dating back to Muhammad's own successors. By the early 20th century, the overwhelming majority of the Muslim world found itself for the first time in its history under direct or indirect European colonial control. That colonial era did not last either. Beginning after the Second World War, a wave of independence movements swept across the Muslim world, giving rise to the modern map of Muslim-majority nations, largely still in place today. Pakistan carved from British India in 1947, specifically as a homeland for South Asian Muslims, Indonesia declaring independence from Dutch colonial rule, and dozens of Arab and African nations emerging from British and French control through the 1950s and 60s. Vast oil reserves discovered beneath the Arabian Peninsula and the Persian Gulf transformed the economic and geopolitical weight of the region entirely, turning previously modest desert states into some of the wealthiest nations on Earth, virtually overnight, by 20th century standards. By the close of the 20th century, the Muslim world had been entirely remade. No longer a single caliphate, but roughly 50 independent nation-states, spanning 4 continents, unified by shared faith, while remaining politically, culturally, and linguistically enormously diverse. Across every empire, golden age, and catastrophe in this story, one thing held Islam together as a single recognizable faith, generation after generation, regardless of language, empire, or continent, a shared framework of practice known as the 5 pillars. The first is the Shahada, a simple, direct declaration of faith. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. It is the single sentence that formally marks entry into the faith. The second is Salah, 5 ritual prayers performed daily at prescribed times from dawn to night, always facing the direction of Mecca, wherever in the world a person happens to be standing. The third is Zakat, a mandatory obligation, not simply encouraged charity, but a required annual giving of a portion of one's accumulated wealth to those in need, built directly into the structure of the faith itself. The fourth is Sawm, fasting from dawn until sunset every day throughout the month of Ramadan, abstaining from food, drink, and other physical needs as an act of spiritual discipline and communal solidarity. And the fifth is Hajj, a pilgrimage to Mecca that every Muslim who is physically and financially able is expected to complete at least once in their lifetime, retracing rituals connected to Abraham and to Muhammad's own final pilgrimage. Today, roughly 2.5 million people make that pilgrimage to Mecca every single year, converging from every country on earth, walking in a very real sense the same ground where this entire 1400-year story first began. That succession dispute from the year 661, the one that split the caliphate into civil war and eventually cost Muhammad's own grandson his life at Karbala, never fully resolved, and it still visibly shapes the Muslim world today. Roughly 85 to 90% of Muslims worldwide identify as Sunni, following the tradition that legitimate leadership should pass through consensus and capable succession within the wider community, not necessarily through direct bloodline. The remaining 10 to 15% are predominantly Shia, holding that legitimate leadership should have passed specifically through Muhammad's own family line, beginning with his cousin and son-in-law Ali. Shia populations today are concentrated most heavily in Iran, where Shia Islam has been the state religion since the Safavid Empire, as well as in Iraq, Bahrain, and Azerbaijan, with significant minority communities scattered throughout the wider Muslim world. This is not a minor theological footnote confined to history books. It has directly shaped alliances, rivalries, and active conflicts across the modern Middle East for decades, from the Iranian Revolution of 1979 to the ongoing regional rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia, to sectarian tensions that have repeatedly flared across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. A 1400-year-old question about who should have led the Muslim community after Muhammad's death is remarkably still actively shaping headlines in geopolitics in the 21st century. Which brings us to now. As of 2026, the global Muslim population stands at roughly 2.06 billion people, about 1/4 of humanity, making Islam the world's second largest religion, trailing only Christianity. Contrary to popular assumption, the majority of the world's Muslims do not live in the Middle East at all. Roughly 60% live across the Asia-Pacific region, and Indonesia alone, not any Arab nation, is home to the single largest Muslim population of any country on Earth. Demographic researchers project the global Muslim population will continue growing significantly faster than the world average, driven primarily by younger populations and higher birth rates in many Muslim-majority countries, with some projections estimating close to 2.8 billion Muslims worldwide by the year 2050, nearly a third of the entire projected global population. 1400 years ago, this entire story began with one man, in one cave, outside one small trading town that most of the world had never heard of. Empires rose from it, and empires fell. Golden ages of science and catastrophic invasions. Continents conquered, and continents lost. Caliphates that spanned from the Atlantic to the Indus, and a final caliphate abolished within living memory of people alive today. And through all of it, the expansion, the fragmentation, the golden ages, the catastrophes, the colonization, and the independence that followed, the faith that began in that cave outside Mecca didn't just survive, it grew, generation after generation, until roughly 1 in every 4 human beings on the planet now shares some connection to that single moment in the year 610, when a merchant named Muhammad sat alone on a mountainside, and the world, slowly, began to change.